Hello and welcome into Pat's Latest. I'm your host, Mike Gambardella, and on today's episode, we talk about how Mike Vrabel is already acknowledging some of the biggest holdouts in the NFL. A shocking retirement comes from a potential starter from the New England Patriots. New England Patriot players actually comment on both their new head coach and potentially alluding to their previous one. And we talk about where Henderson could end up being as a player this season. Before we get into everything, make sure you go down and subscribe for the channel. Get to the comments and let us know what you think about the Patriots being linked to some of these big time NFL holdouts. And if you like what you hear, give us a like and go back and check out all of our old episodes to make sure you're caught up to everything New England Patriots. We start with those NFL holdouts, and there are several massive names out there. But the biggest revelation is that Mike Vrabel knows exactly what is happening and didn't kind of shy away from admitting that he knows and sees that these players are holding out. And yes, the names are that of TJ Watt, of Trey Hendrickson, and of Terry McLaurin. All of the guys that we have previously profiled on past episodes. Just go into the thumbnails and see those players and get to hear everything that is going on with them right now. Obviously, all these guys are looking for big contracts. They are holding out from these mandatory OTAs to send a message that they are not happy with where they're at contractually. Now, again, these are organized team activities. This isn't mini camp. This isn't training camp quite yet. There's going to be a good month and a half break before all these players come back. But again, this sends the message from these players to the ownership that they need more. They have earned more and they deserve it. So if they don't get it from their respective teams, that's when you get into a scenario where you want to get something from a player who's potentially going to hold out or not end up playing for your team at all. And the buzz one that I think stands out above the rest and probably could make an immediate impact for the Patriots is Terry McLaurin. Now, I think, again, this is a little far from the realm of possibility because they went out and got Debo Samuel to be the 1B to McLaurin's 1A and really set up a dynamic part of this offense. However, what you saw in Pittsburgh play out, they did the same thing with DK Metcalf going to pair with George Pickens, and they immediately traded George Pickens away to Dallas. So if you're not going to give a contract to one of these big stars in the NFL, it makes sense to get something for them. That's not to say that it's going to come to fruition for the Patriots, but it is interesting that Mike Vrabel is already admitting that, hey, we're paying attention. We see what's going on in the NFL at all times. And at the end of the day, the crux of it is let's make the team better and let's not shy away from anything that could do that. Again, the right message and right sentiment. We'll see what comes to fruition at the end of the day. But I think, at least for right now, as the Patriots have wrapped OTAs, they have their team, they're comfortable with where they're at. But if Mike Vrabel and Elliott Wolf and company see something that could help, they will potentially explore that possibility. One possibility they may have to look at is adding another offensive lineman. It was a bit of a surprise as potential starting left guard. Wes Schweitzer has decided to retire. The Patriots previously put him on the reserve retired list. The move effectively ends Schweitzer's career, as the 31-year-old had really been in the equation for that starting left guard spot and potentially back up or even push James Bradbury at center when the OTAs really started. But Schweitzer was actually not at minicamp this past week, and now, unfortunately, has decided to retire from the NFL. Schweitzer could have absolutely been a depth piece and backing up both guard spots, and really kind of stepped in to be a potential starter at that left guard, which was really that last open spot, if you will, that we kept discussing. The trickle down or up effect, if you will, in this instance is what this means for that position. And what I think it is Cole Strange being fully healthy, the former first round pick out of UT Chattanooga, getting back to where he was as that top rookie draft pick coming out, being healthy, working all the way back from injury. Last year he came back and started at center, a position he hadn't done since high school. now getting back to where he came in, getting back to that spot he lost because of that injury, and I think starting to gel this offensive line and offensive unit and getting the pieces in place to make sure that Drake May can be successful and not worry as much about the pressure that's coming at him. And that's going to come one way or the other when you look at the, vaunted pass rushes across the NFL. But making sure that you can have time for a cohesive unit to build in front of you is just as important. And it's really going to be important for the Patriots, as essentially it is four new starters and five in a sense. If you look at it, Morgan Moses is a free agent at right tackle. Michael Onwenu actually kicks back inside to guard after playing tackle for a few years and swinging back and forth from that spot. We just mentioned Bradbury as the new center, who will be pushed by third round draftee Jared Wilson. And then again, putting left tackle Will Campbell as the number 4 overall pick and the Patriots' top selection at left tackle, and Cole Strange now returning back to left guard after not really playing that for 2 years almost. So it is a brand new line in front of Drake May, and after last year's debacle, I think that is nothing but a good thing for May, the passing, and the rushing attack overall. Additionally, on Mike Vrabel and what's going on with him, it's a little bit of a surprise here that he's getting some interesting comments from his players, and I think it's instilling a culture, and that's the phrase that we keep using, is instilling a culture and changing the dynamic, where a lot of players are all in on Vrabel. They love what he's brought to the table. He's very involved, and whether it was a veiled shot at someone, we won't even say the name of the previous head coach here, when Keion White was asked about it, he went right in and said, "Now I feel like I have a coach," which is a pretty staunch statement. He had added as well that he likes Mike. He leads with work. He absolutely is a guy that, is there and putting on the pennies and putting hands on players to set what he wants to see. And White added that I can respect that. He also went on to say it's similar to Bill Belichick that he's going back to, because Keion White's been around, that he played for him as well. So at least when it comes to X's and O's and football style, Mike Vrabel's been around the block, whether that be as a, Super Bowl winning player, both offense and defensive side of the balls, 10 catches for 10 touchdowns, not anything to scoff at. But Vrabel has really done it all. And it's not just Keion White saying that either. Pop Douglas, the top returning receiver for the Patriots, was quoted as saying that it shows that we have a coach that's all in. He knows the offensive and defensive side. He can tell that, so you go to big screen and he already knows. Like, you have to do it better than this. I feel like that's what we need. We need a coach that's going to push us and actually be out there with us and know what's going on. Again, another potential veiled remark at the previous coaching regime here. Douglas ended with, Vrabel is going to push you. He knows that what you're capable of. He's a player's coach. He knows how we feel out here, but he knows that we can do it. He's been on a winning team and he knows the culture, how to win. And I think for everyone right now, they are all open ears, open eyes, and willing to do things differently as long as it results in the winning. Now, everybody can win the offseason. They said that before and during free agency, during the draft, now in OTAs and mini camps. Winning the offseason. These are the right steps that you need to take, but it won't matter until you really get on the field to see how that actually translates. But if those wins start to come, watch out for the Patriots, who really could be a dangerous team, at least to make some noise in the middle of the AFC East and potentially in the playoff picture as well. And finally, we look at one of the Patriots' top draft picks this past year, TreVeyon Henderson, and the dynamic things that he could potentially bring to this offense. Ramondre Stevenson will absolutely be involved as that bruiser up the middle, and well as a threat out of the backfield as a pass catcher, but a guy who's absolutely can be out there on first and second downs and do some interesting things with him. But TreVeyon Henderson as a number 2 round draft pick will definitely be involved. You won't see a running back taken that high and not immediately slotted into the game plan. So a guy that from a skill position will very much be involved, and a guy who can do it all, as we've mentioned, whether it's hitting between the tackles, whether it's pass blocking, or as a receiver. And Trayvon Henderson admitted that, there is a specific Patriot that has been watching, and that is James White. And anyone who, remembers the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl game, James White took that over. He was a guy that did a little bit of everything. He was Tom Brady's trusted target. He single handedly almost got them back into that game and essentially won the Super Bowl for them. And Henderson kind of noted as well, like, it's not just about a guy that can, a running back that can do that, but it's a player that is a receiver, right? Even though your position is running back. And that was Henderson's quote. He said he dang near looked like a receiver. He was a great running back here. It was his great receiving ability that he's mentioning that people took note of and that separated him out. And I think Travion understands that. That's what Josh McDaniels will be looking for in year one, is someone to try and fill that James White role. I think knowing that you have Ramondre Stevenson that can take on that first and second down, they want somebody that can be that other role for it. That's not to say that Travion couldn't develop into doing more first and second down work as well. And the prime example, and please don't say this is exactly what it will be, but the example and thing to aspire to here is what the Detroit Lions have, is what David Montgomery has as that first, second down bruiser, and then Jahmyr Gibbs as that special dynamic player that put in space, just get the ball and things can happen. That is potentially what the Patriots could be looking at with their two players in Stevenson and Henderson, but it's a little bit different because, again, Ramondre Stevens had a very tough year with fumbling. He still almost approached 1,000-yard season, even playing in a very difficult offense overall. And Travion Henderson, again, is a dynamic player in his own right, perhaps not in the same class as Jahmyr Gibbs is, but with a younger player that is a potential way that your ceiling could go. Travion Henderson also added in watching that film and tape on James White. He remarked on the one-on-one matchups, and that's where you can win. And for him, he went on to say it felt like he was winning every time. And I think that's something that Travion is going to have to emulate and be after, is trying to win every time you get the ball in your hands and trying to take it to the house. And I think that's exactly what you worry about with someone like Jahmyr Gibbs. And hopefully the Patriots will quickly get to a spot where that's something that you have to worry about on Travion Henderson. That'll do it for us here on this episode of Pat's Latest. Again, make sure you go down and subscribe for the channel so you get all the latest news and updates alerted to you before we go live with the things that you need to know. Make sure you get in the comments and let us know what you think the Patriots backfield is going to shake out as, and if there's a big-time NFL star that the Patriots could potentially make a play for. Make sure you give us a like if you liked what you hear so far, and go back and check out those episodes, and you can hear even more about those potential NFL holdouts that could potentially see their way to another team this offseason. Again, that'll do it for us here, but we'll continue to have everything for you, Pats. Fight on, Foxborough.